We begin from the National Assembly, where the House of Representatives is expressing worry over the introduction of genetically modified crops in Nigeria by the National Biosafety Management Agency. The House has therefore resolved to conduct a comprehensive investigation into the matter to assess the potential health and environmental risks associated with GM crops, following a motion by Honorable Mukhtar Shagaya. The lawmakers also expressed concern over the continued attacks by bandits in the northwest. Our National Assembly correspondent, Terry Kume, reports that the House also received the President's anti-doping bill aimed at preventing the country from sanctions in the world of sports.
For the final plenary session of the week in the House of Representatives, the Deputy Speaker presides once again. Plenary begins with communications from the President, one of which is the anti-doping bill.
The enactment of this vital legislation will also help Nigeria avoid the imposition of signatory consequences, inclusive of loss of hosting and participating at regional, continental, and world championships or major athletic events.
Matters of urgent national importance on the escalating insecurity in Kaduna State and the killing of 27 people in Zamfara State are considered and adopted.
Worried that most recent incident consumes the life of the bloodshed of Marki, Malam Kabir Mohammed, who was slaughtered and set ablaze by his killers, resulting in his instant incriminations, injuries of some of his household, and loss of the properties worth of millions of naira on Thursday, 2nd May 2024.
These continuous killings and abduction in Safe local government demands immediate attention and actions. Lives and properties are under constant threat, and the situation is deteriorating rapidly day by day. I urge the Chief of Army Staff to constitute military barracks in Safe local government to strengthen border defense of the areas.
The attention of the House is then drawn to the concerns around genetically modified foods, as Honorable Mukhtar Shagaya calls for an investigation.
The House resolves to 1. Urge the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, to cause the already introduced GM foods and crops in Nigeria to be properly labeled to safeguard consumers. 3. Mandate the Committee on Agricultural Production and Services to A. Conduct a comprehensive investigation into the introduction of genetically modified crops in Nigeria by the National Biosafety Management Agency. B. Assess the potential health and environmental risks associated with genetically modified crops and report back to the House within 4 weeks.
The House is further urging the federal government to suspend the introduction of new genetically modified crops until an investigation by the committee is completed and the findings are made public. Terry Ikumi, Channels Television News.
To security matters, the military has declared a suspected notorious terrorist, Halilu Buzu, wanted for terrorist activities, illegal arms supplies, illegal mining, and cattle rustling. Announcing this in Abuja at the bi-weekly media briefing of the Defense Media Operations, the director of the operations, Major General Edward Buba, explains that Buzu, who is an indigene of Niger Republic, resides in a forest in Zamfara State and often escapes to Niger after launching attacks in Nigeria. He adds that the military is working with its counterparts in Niger Republic to ensure the arrest of the terrorist, who is alleged to have many boys working for him.
Related to my brief earlier, we are on the hunt of one Halilu Buzu. This Halilu Buzu is a leader, is a terrorist leader that hails from Buzu in the Republic of Niger. He settled in Sububu Forest, which is somewhere around Zamfara, as well as lives in Shinkafi local government area of Zamfara State. He has a camp for illegal gold mining located at Kawai in Anka local government area of Zamfara State, and he also has a lot of boys working for him. Additionally, he is a prominent cattle rustler. Last week, his boys killed 19 villagers at Farakasa. And for us, he is a high-value target. Therefore, we declare him wanted.
To the courts now, the Adamawa State High Court has issued a warrant of arrest against the suspended resident electoral commissioner in the state, Hudu Yunusa Ari. Justice Benjamin Manjalawan ordered the Inspector General of Police to arrest Mr. Yunusa Ari and present him before the court with immediate effect to stand trial on the 3-count charge labeled against him. Now, he issued the arrest warrant based on the application filed by the Adamawa State government through its counsel. Counsel to the petitioner, who referred the court to Section 20, subsections 1J of the Administration of Criminal Justice Law 2018, urged the court to exercise its powers and direct the IGP to arrest the defendant wherever he is found. He told the court that efforts to serve the defendant proved abortive despite trips to Bochi, the home state of the suspended rec, to serve him the papers. The suspended rec is to stand trial for usurping the powers of a returning officer to declare the All Progressives Congress candidate Aishatu Ahmed Binani winner in the 2023 governorship poll before the collation of results for the election was completed. In another legal matter, the Federal High Court sitting in Lagos has held that the Central Bank of Nigeria regulation, which requires financial institutions to demand and collect the social media handles of their customers, is not a breach of the right to privacy. Justice Nnamdi Dingba struck out a suit filed by a Lagos-based lawyer, Chris Eke, seeking a declaration that the regulation, as contained in Section 6A4 of the Central Bank of Nigeria Customer Due Diligence Regulations 2023, is undemocratic, unconstitutional, null and void to the extent of its inconsistency with Section 37 of the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended. The CBN, in its response to the suit, filed a notice of preliminary objection challenging the competence of the suit. In his judgment, Justice Dingba held that the notice of preliminary objection had merit, and he subsequently struck out the suit. The judge said, in his view, the provision of a social media handle is of the same as the provision of email address, phone numbers, and other means by which a potential customer of a bank can be contacted. Here in Lagos, 7 years after the case of convicted kidnap kingpin Chukwudumeme Nwamadike, also known as Evans, began, the Lagos High Court sitting in Ikeja today reopened the matter. However, the arraignment of Evans and his co-defendant Joseph Emeka, who are facing an amended 5-count charge of murder for attempt to kidnap and conspiracy, fails to hold owing to the absence of his counsel. A trial judge, Justice Adenike Koka, has adjourned till June the 13th for the planned arraignment. The president says West Africa must work together to defeat the hydra-headed problems of terrorism, banditry, human trafficking, and poverty. President Bola Tinubu said this when he received President Bassirou Diomaye Faye of Senegal at the State House in Abuja. According to a statement by the Special Advisor to the President on Media, Ajuri Ngalale, the President advised leaders in the region to make their people the point of convergence in governance. He also emphasized that democratic governance, democratic values, and constitutional order are sacrosanct and must be protected. In his remarks, President Faye acknowledged Nigeria and Senegal's shared values and called for the reactivation of the Nigeria-Senegal Joint Commission to strengthen their bilateral relations. The Vice President says the present administration has performed well in its fiscal responsibilities and management as the administration maintains transparency in financial dealings. Vice President Kashim Shettima cited the recent ranking by global credit rating agency Fitch, which upgraded Nigeria's credit outlook to positive, describing it as a reflection of increasing confidence in the nation's economy. Vice President Shettima, who chaired the 141st meeting of the National Economic Council at the Presidential Villa Abuja today, drew attention to the nation's micro, small, and medium enterprises, that's MSMEs, describing them as the backbone of the country's economy. This was made known in a statement issued after the meeting by Senior Special Assistant on Media and Communications, Stanley Kwacha. The council meeting, which was attended by state governors, some ministers, and the central bank governor, deliberated on the general state of the nation's economy. The meeting was, however, adjourned without the usual briefing to journalists. The Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, is giving assurances that the federal government has a strategic roadmap that will ensure the completion of the digital switchover. Mr. Idris said this when he received members of the Executive Council of the Independent Broadcasters Association of Nigeria in Abuja. Our correspondent, Victoria Longjohn, reports.
Please be seated.
Members of the Executive Council of Independent Broadcasters Association of Nigeria are on a courtesy visit to the Minister of Information and National Orientation. The association is seeking some respite from the challenges in the broadcast media space and improved collaboration from the Ministry of Information and National Orientation.
IBAN strongly advocates for re-energizing of the DSO process. We wish to request for a clearer roadmap with the following elements. Comprehensive roadmap. A user-friendly roadmap outlining the DSO timetable, milestone, stakeholders' responsibilities, preferred technology, and key phases of the process. And we hope the DSO will have a new business model, because the former model that was in place, is not workable, and I think the government of Bola Tinubu must look at it and have a new business model that will drive the DSO.
In response, the minister gives assurances to some of the requests made.
We're going to have digital switchover with following the model of very other successful countries. There's no reason why DSO has happened in smaller countries and Nigeria is still lagging behind it. The National Orientation Agency will also be directed to work with IBAN as with other stakeholders so that we can have messages of patriotism, messages of orientation and reorientation that we need to pass to Nigerians. There is already a clear directive by the President to the Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment that all the loans being given by the Bank of Industry should be at single-digit interest, and the Nigerian media should participate. There's a clear directive by Mr. President in that regard, and I do hope that you present bankable proposals so that the banks will also avail this.
Collaboration between the association and the federal government will aid Nigeria in overcoming current challenges and effectively support the government's agenda of informing and reorienting the citizens. Victoria Longjohn for Channels Television News.
In part two after the break, Senate passed. This time, the Senate has passed the Northwest Development Commission bill to address the challenges facing the 7 states in the geopolitical zone. This followed the consideration and adoption of the report of the Committee on Special Duties on the NWDC establishment. Now, the bill, which scaled the third reading today, was sponsored by the Deputy President of the Senate, Senator Barau Jibrin, and 20 other lawmakers from the 7 states in the Northwest geopolitical zone. Away from the Senate to Nasarawa, where the state government has launched a gas master plan, which is the state's gas strategy document. Now, the plan was launched at the Energy Business Roundtable, marking the close of the Nasarawa State Summit 2024 in Lafia, the state capital. Agreements were also signed on various business initiatives by the government, national energy authorities, and private sector players.
The second day of the Nasarawa Investment Summit 2024 is the Energy Business Roundtable, which focuses on the oil and gas potential of the state and how the state government intends to drive its utilization.
Today is the Energy Business Roundtable.
Setting the pace for the day, the Managing Director of the Nasarawa Investment and Development Agency highlights successes recorded from the previous engagement.
Since the inaugural gas roundtable, we have seen an influx of investors coming into the state to invest in the energy value chain. Notably, we have the Greenville, first of its kind CNG hub here in Lafia. This significant investment in the CNG hub by Greenville opens up the doors of opportunities for other players in the sector.
The representative of the group president of Dangote Industry Limited wants the state government to partner with the organized private sector to drive the Nasarawa energy sector.
Both the government and private sector have roles to play in providing the background for sustainable industrialization of Nasarawa state. Transition from oil discovery, exploration to commercialization is a tedious one that needs patience, focus, and tenacity. Furthermore, as the state is not close to existing gas infrastructure, there is indeed a need to explore how to commercialize the gas. My advice here will be to leave this to the free market instead of going for central planning.
The event breaks into a plenary with a focus on gas to power the Nasarawa industrialization agenda. Governor Abdullahi Soleh gives insight into the state's energy sector.
The discovery of oil that we just had, the drilling operation actually started in March last year, and they are still carrying out the drilling. Part of the challenges they are facing is that they came across gas too early. And I think NMPC is the right people who are even going to mention this. I just had their helicopter now arriving, so they are the right people to say that. But by having that kind of gas challenge, it now exposes Nasarawa to the advantage and the disadvantage. The disadvantage on the part of the oil drilling company is that they hit gas too early, and it makes it a little difficult for them for their drilling operation. For us as a state, it's an advantage that it means that we have abundance of gas here in Nasarawa state, which is a good thing for us and a good thing for Nigeria.
High point of the day is the signing of 3 Memorandum of Understanding on lithium and gas value chain. The Nasarawa Renewable Energy, in collaboration with the NMPCL, and the development of a CNG midstream infrastructure with power gas. This brings to 6 deals in total signed in the Nasarawa Investment Summit 2024. The drive to empower local MSMEs for growth, 3 MSMEs from the state win 5 million naira cash prize in the summit's MSME Challenge. As the second edition of the Nasarawa Investment Summit 2024 closes, the state government is maintaining that it is open for business and ready for mutually beneficial partnerships.
In other stories, the Nigerian Society of Engineers has conferred fellowship honors on 63 engineers who have distinguished themselves in their chosen profession. The investiture, which took place at the headquarters of the Nigerian Society of Engineers in Abuja, had the Executive Secretary of the Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Board, Mr. Omashola Ogbe, as one of the conferees. Now, President of the Society, Margaret Ugutola, urges the new fellows to be good ambassadors of the engineering profession.
The main hall of the Nigerian Society of Engineers in Abuja is filled for the investiture of 63 engineers as fellows of the Nigerian Society of Engineers. The dominating colorful regalia of the conferees complements the ecstasy that permeates the hall.
Ladies and gentlemen,
flanked by families and friends, the day is a dream come true for these successful engineers who await their conferment.
Today marks the recognition of 63 engineers who have exhibited exceptional prowess in the field of engineering. As they are conferred with the Fellowship of Nigerian Society of Engineers, this accolade represents the pinnacle of achievement for any practicing engineer in Nigeria. These distinguished past professionals are lauded for successfully navigating the rigorous screening and assessment process.
Engineer Felix Omashola Ogbe.
One after the other, the conferees step forward for their conferment. Beyond the joy of being conferred as fellows, the president of the Nigerian Society of Engineers has a task for the conferees.
The world is evolving at an unprecedented pace, driven by technological advancements and societal changes. As engineers, it is our collective responsibility to adapt to these changes, to embrace innovation, and to continue to push the boundaries of what is possible.
For the inducted fellows, the task ahead of them is well cut out.
I'd like us to pledge to uphold the highest standards of ethics and integrity, recognizing that our work is not just about structures and systems, but about people and their lives. And I can assure Madam President that she will have no need to withdraw any of our distinguished conferment.
The Nigerian Society of Engineers expects that these colleagues who have been added to the League of Fellows will add further value to the profession.
Still ahead on the news at 10, the African Development Bank launches inaugural €500 million green bond under the new Sustainable Bond Framework. That's on Business News. Please join us again.
Stay connected to the world with Channels TV Podcast and get all the trending stories. Simply log on to channelstv.com, click on podcast, select the program of your choice, and listen. Our podcast is available on Apple, Google, and Spotify. Tap the expertise you trust. Touch the stories that touch you. Anytime, anywhere.
Of leadership, which has been identified as a major challenge in the country, elder statesman and former High Commissioner to the United Kingdom, Dr. Christopher Kolade, and some professionals in diverse fields have been brainstorming on the subject in Lagos. It was a select gathering of minds committed to unraveling the essence of effective leadership in the country. The assembly comprises scholars, entrepreneurs, and the clergy, among others. Our correspondent, Darido, reports.
Effective principles of leadership is the focus of this meeting, and Dr. Christopher Kolade is the convener. It's a small yet diverse group comprising scholars, entrepreneurs, the clergy, and others interested in learning a theme or two about leadership.
You see, let me remind all of us.
The host, Dr. Kolade, leads the park outlining 7 principles of leadership, some of which are responsibility, exemplary leadership, building capacity to meet needs of the future, being an apostle of effective learning.
Today's discussion is not leadership in the abstract. It is not leadership only as a concept. It is leadership as it relates to our practice, our experience. So if you look at the principles that I have put in this paper, I've put 7 principles. But there is one basic principle that I want to remind all of us of. And that is that the leader himself is a member of the team. If we practice leadership, which separates the leader from the team, which makes the leader preside over some concept, and everybody else is just doing his will, that is a wrong concept of leadership. And I use something we all know about. A football team. If I ask you who is the leader of the football team, you point to the captain. And the captain has responsibility to make sure that something happens. The team may say we want to win or we don't want to lose. So whatever the objective is, he is leading.
And there are other perspectives from different speakers.
People, what make up the success or failure of anything, and the person who is in charge, recognizing that and being able to tap into it makes all the difference.
There are people who are in position of leadership and they just tell you that they don't care. Anything goes. Because we have not put that structure. You know, you also want to ask questions. To whom are you accountable to?
Leadership comes with a lot of challenges.
even now, I think I'm work in progress, but I think that we have to continue to make.
The chairman and CEO of Channels Media Group, Dr. John Momo, in his submission says people must be at the heart of effective leadership at all levels.
This holds true in what we do in Channels on a daily basis. Everybody is a member of the team. Everyone is very important. Everyone, whether he's a Muslim or a Christian, must always understand the fact that the work he does in Channels is not unto him, but unto God. What are we there to do when we find ourselves in leadership positions? We must be there for the common good. As long as we know that it's not about enriching ourselves, it's in fact, I dare say, inconveniencing yourself or polarizing yourself, because you've got to make sure that the people are the focus of your leadership. Once we get that in Nigeria, the country will change.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let me first of all give God glory for leading us to have this program and to have it successful. And also we can thank our host and key speaker, Dr. Christopher Colade, for giving us access to his time, his expertise, and incomparable experience.
As the discourse unfolds within this circle, these principles are expected to guide a larger population beyond this gathering. Dari Idu, Channels Television News.
To company news, Nigeria's premium provider of retail, commercial and corporate banking products, Stanbic IBTC Holdings PLC, has held its 12th annual general meeting for the 2023 financial year in Lagos. The bank says it is poised to maintain growth through effective corporate governance and oversight, diversity and inclusion, and render quality services aligned with global best practices. It is also promising to deliver rewarding dividends to its shareholders.
It's the 12th annual general meeting of Stanbic IBTC Holdings PLC, and once again, all interested parties have come to look at the year 2023 financial performance. Present are the chairman of the group, Mr. Basil Umi, Chief Executive Demola Shogule, and Shola Bora, Non-Executive Director, Stanbic IBTC Holdings PLC, as well as the company's loyal shareholders.
Which also was ranked third in this category.
The chairman of the group presents his address emphasizing the importance of annual general meeting.
Your board will continue to support management in navigating the challenges of the operating environment, mindful of our service promise to customers and the need to deliver sustainable long-term value to our esteemed shareholders.
Management and shareholders are unanimous in their assessment of the 2023 financial year, describing it as a successful one, with the revenue for the year under review standing at 339.71 billion. Profit before tax stands at 172.91 billion naira, while profit after tax is put at 140.62 billion naira. Dividend per share is 2.20 naira. The success of Stanbic IBTC Holdings PLC over the years can be attributed to a number of factors such as diversity and alignment with global best practices.
Our aim is to ensure that there is a very strong representation of gender, and ensuring that at the same time we are bringing forward our very best.
Stanbic IBTC Holdings PLC is the only AAA rated financial institution in Nigeria by Fitch Ratings. I think it's something that is of delight, to the country, that a company like Stanbic IBTC is properly aligned to some of these global best practices.
Stanbic IBTC Holdings PLC, which prides itself as Nigeria's leading end-to-end financial service provider, and management says to continue to infuse effective corporate governance and oversight to keep the company on track.
We will also ensure the board is evaluated, both as individual directors and also as a board, and even the committees are evaluated. It's only what you measure, that's what you can improve. That's really the basis to get a good corporate governance standard. You make sure they have the education and you measure your progress.
As one of Nigeria's economic enabler, Stanbic IBTC Holding PLC assures its shareholders that it remains focused on delivering quality service to numerous publics.
Among annual general meeting, shareholders of Seplat Energy PLC are being rewarded with a dividend of 39 naira 30 kobo per share. The board chairman, Udoma Udoma, made the announcement at the company's 11th annual general meeting for the year ended December 2023. Senator Udoma also announced that the oil and gas giant also grew its revenue by 11.5%, crossing the $1 billion mark for the first time.
Fellow shareholders,
it's the 11th annual general meeting of Seplat Energy, and the session takes a hybrid format.
I hereby propose that the appointment of Mr. Udoma
Under reviews the performance of the company for the year ended December 2023, which saw a revenue increase of 11.5% from oil and gas sales, as well as an increase in average daily production of 8.3% to 47,758 barrels of oil equivalent per day from 44,104 from the preceding year. How does this affect the average shareholder?
I hereby propose that the final dividend of 3 cents, which is the equivalent of 39 naira 30 kobo per share, recommended by the Board of Directors, be accepted by the shareholders as a final dividend for the year ended 31st December 2023.
After about 2 hours of the AGM, with several resolutions passed, the management speaks further on the many successes of 2023.
With all of these advantages in 2023, we then, of course, the board recommended a special dividend of 3 cents per share. And that 3 cents special dividend is in addition to the 12 cents per share that was awarded to the shareholders in 2023.
With 14 new wells completed across Seplat operated and non-operated assets, the outlook for 2024 appears even brighter.
We went through the $1 billion turnover. Q1 2024, we published another set of strong results where our production is just short of 50,000 barrels of oil equivalent per day. And 2024 is set to be a strong year for Seplat in terms of our production and our efficiencies around that.
Seplat is doing well, and the future is very bright for Seplat. That we are committed to a lot of initiatives that will help in terms of better results for Seplat and better returns to all our stakeholders.
While shareholders look forward to a more rewarding future, the management says all that is required to make it happen is already in the works.
Digital payments solutions provider Visa West Africa has organized a one-day industry risk and compliance workshop for players in Nigeria's digital payments environment. The event, which was held in Lagos, was aimed at updating the company's partners within the ecosystem about current trends, opportunities, threats, and comprehensive strategies in risk management and compliance. Visa, the trusted global leader in digital payments, hosted business and industry executives as well as risk managers in Lagos to share knowledge on how to effectively manage and enhance business payment activities in a secure and sustainable way.
So how do we ensure?
The one-day workshop also identified ways to help players in the digital payment ecosystem implement practices that comply with Visa's risk and compliance programs, as well as reduce the risk of non-compliance penalties.
To ensure that we
Visa's head of risk management for sub-Saharan Africa speaks on strategies it will implement with stakeholders to ensure the safety of the payment ecosystem within the sub-region.
Part of those strategies include the engagements in market, like what we're having today, meeting with key stakeholders, decision makers in the C-suites, the CROs, the compliance officers, and even the business executives to elevate the conversation of security at the decision makers level to ensure that eventually everyone is committed and makes the investment in time and resources to build a secure payment ecosystem.
On the spot, the Vice President and Head of Visa West Africa expatiates on strategies that can be implemented to secure the future of payments in Nigeria.
There are three key steps that can be taken to address the security of payments in Nigeria. The first one would be through financial literacy. It's important that consumers are aware of how the payments can be safeguarded. There's a lot that Visa is doing in enabling that enlightenment and awareness from the consumers. The second piece is that it's also working with government to ensure that the right policies and regulations are in place that protect consumers, at the same time creating an atmosphere that will drive innovation in payments and enable more people to be able to expand in new ways of paying. And I think the third thing would be around working with partners in the ecosystem, like the banks, the fintechs, regulators, and other players to ensure that solutions that they are bringing into the market caters to the need of the consumers, as well as ensuring that they are safe and they're secure.
With the rising threats to various forms of digital payments around the world, particularly on the African continent, this workshop will position Visa as the preferred industry partner for risk, compliance, and payment matters. Let's have some more business news now with Will Ibo.
Thank you, Ayotunde, and welcome to Business News. Now, the African Development Bank, AFDB, has launched a €500 million green bond, marking its first euro-denominated green bond under the new Sustainable Bond Framework. The bond, due in March 2028, offers a 2.875% coupon and a reoffer yield of 2.947%, and the proceeds will support eligible green projects across Africa. This issuance saw robust investor interest, with orders exceeding €3.2 billion, making it the largest order book for an AFDB Euro benchmark. The bond saw an oversubscription, with orders exceeding that amount, reflecting strong confidence in the AFDB's sustainability initiatives. ESG investors represented 63% of the orders, with significant participation from central banks and official institutions. Now, the Minister of Finance, Mr. Wale Edun, has clarified rumors that the federal government plans to illegally access 20 trillion naira pension and life insurance funds to develop infrastructure in the country. The minister states that the pension industry is highly regulated, with strict limits on how funds can be invested. And according to him, the federal government has no intention of violating these regulations, which are designed to protect workers' pensions. Mr. Edun emphasized that the government aims to maximize these funds to boost investment in key growth areas and provide affordable mortgages for Nigerians.
There was an ongoing initiative drawing in all the major stakeholders in the long-term savings industry, those that handle funds that are available over a long period, to see how within the rules, within the regulations and the laws, these funds could be used maximally, most effectively, to drive investment in key growth areas, infrastructure, housing, and of course, to find a way to provide Nigerians with affordable mortgages. Within this context, there's no attempt or no consideration to provide less safe investments for pension funds or even insurance funds or any investment funds that are made available. No attempt whatsoever to increase the risk, no attempt whatsoever to lower the returns that would otherwise be earned. And we must remember that the federal government possesses the ability to provide guarantees where such are needed in order to unlock funding that will lead to growth, creation of jobs, and alleviation of poverty.
Now, the total sum of 1.21 billion naira has been shared as revenue for April amongst the federal government, states and local government areas in this country. The revenue was shared at the May 2024 meeting of the Federation Accounts Allocation Committee, FAC, held in Abuja. According to a communique by the Federal Allocation Accounts, it revealed that 1.21 billion naira was through total distributable revenue, comprising of statutory revenue of 284.71 billion naira and distributable value-added tax revenue of 466 billion naira, and also from electronic money transfers. And the domestic stock market made a strong recovery in today's trading session as investors looked to Airtel Africa and insurance stocks. Ladi Williams tells us more.
Hello and welcome to the stock market report. Well, finally, we have some action in the local bourse. For the first time this week, it's a positive close, 0.84%, and back to the 98,000 level. That's for the all-share index, market cap 55 trillion. We also see some strong activity with volume and value traded for today. For sectoral performance, it's a bigger drop today for the banking index. You know, this started over 1,000 points for the banking index. That was in the beginning of this year, about 782 points from that high. Now, with the sell-offs we see in the banking counter, consumer goods, marginal decline there, 0.06%. And today, the market mover, Airtel Africa. That's why we see those big gains now, 2,159. That was the close for the share price. But it's a negative market breadth today with 15 advances against 24 decliners. But for the first time this week, the bulls dominate.
And that's it on business. It's back to you, Ayotunde.
Thank you so much, Will. A 71-year-old man has been charged with the attempted murder of Slovak Prime Minister Robert Fico. Although the alleged assailant's identity is still under wraps, Interior Minister Matus Suchak-Estok in a news conference today said the suspect acted alone. Here's Simon Puzi with more on this and other international news in Around the World in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Slovak Prime Minister Robert Fico is in a stable but serious condition after being shot several times on Wednesday. That's according to his doctors. Mr. Fico was meeting bystanders in the small town of Handlova when the attack took place. A suspect was detained at the scene of the shooting. The Prime Minister is said to be fighting for his life after being gravely injured in the attack. The hospital director said he was currently in an intensive care unit after 5 hours in surgery. Mr. Fico is a divisive figure at home and controversial in the EU for his calls to end military aid to Ukraine and sanctions on Russia. Interior Minister Matus Suchak-Estok described it as a politically motivated assassination attempt. 5 Israeli soldiers have been killed in Gaza, the military says, in one of the deadliest incidents of its kind since the war began in October. Israeli media say the troops were killed when they were mistakenly hit by Israeli tank fire on Wednesday. It happened in Jabalia in northern Gaza, where Israeli forces are battling Hamas fighters. Troops went back into the town this week after previously pulling out, saying Hamas had regrouped there. Meanwhile, Palestinian hauliers say they fear for the security of aid convoys to Gaza, a day after Israeli protesters wrecked trucks carrying humanitarian supplies bound for the enclave. Footage circulating on social media showed at least one burning truck, while other images showed trucks wrecked and stripped of their loads, which lay strewn over the road near the Tarkumir checkpoint outside Hebron in the occupied West Bank.
They damaged the cars, they tore the tires off the trucks, they threw the contents of the trucks on the ground. We gathered some of the products and sent some of those products onto a bulldozer and sent them to sheep farms. Around 15 trucks were damaged. Their hull was damaged. Windows of trucks were broken. Some drivers were beaten. Some of the products were thrown away. And the whole loss for Hebron is around $2 million.
Russian President Vladimir Putin and Chinese leader Xi Jinping have praised their friendship and deep ties in a joint appearance before the media. The Russian leader was given a red carpet and military band welcome in China. Mr. Putin said Russia and China wanted a political solution to the Ukraine crisis, while Xi called for a two-state solution to the war in Gaza. This is Mr. Putin's first international visit since the start of his fifth presidential term, following an election where he ran virtually unopposed. Gabon's deposed President Ali Bongo and two of his sons have gone on hunger strike to protest against their alleged subjection to acts of torture and barbarity. Mr. Bongo was ousted in a military coup in August last year, shortly after he won a disputed presidential poll. He was then confined to his house in the capital, along with two of his sons, Jalil and Bilal. The ruling junta also placed his wife and eldest son in prison awaiting trial on corruption allegations. The UK Labour Party leader, Sir Keir Starmer, has outlined the first steps he would take if his party were to win the next general election.
Please welcome Keir Starmer, leader of the Labour Party.
The 6 commitments include a border security command to tackle the criminal gangs behind small boat crossings and recruiting 6,500 teachers. At an event in Essex, Sir Keir will say the pledges will help begin a decade of national renewal.
There's no quick fix to the mess that the Tories have made of this country. But this is a changed Labour Party with a plan to take us forward. And I have ambition for this country. And like all ambition, that starts with first steps. First steps towards higher growth, an NHS back on its feet, secure borders, cheaper bills, safer streets, and opportunities for your children.
And drones are being used to drop seeds in Kosovo as part of an effort to reforest thousands of hectares lost to illegal logging and wildfires. Linden and pine seeds wrapped in soil are scattered from drones onto a barren hillside outside Kosovo's capital in Pristina. Environmentalists say deforestation, also driven by demand for popular wood-fired stoves, is endangering wild animals such as brown bears, lynx, wild goats and roe deer, whose populations are diminishing. The process is thought to be 5 times faster than human planting and can reach remote areas more quickly. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel's studios in Lagos.
Thank you, Simon. Welcome to Sports News. Manchester City goalkeeper Ederson will miss Sunday's concluding game of the Premier League season at home to West Ham United and the FA Cup final against Manchester United at Wembley on May 25th. Ederson was forced off with a facial injury during Manchester City's 2-0 win at Tottenham Hotspur on Tuesday that left Pep Guardiola's men on the brink of an unprecedented 4th successive English top-flight title. Juventus coach Massimiliano Allegri has received a 2-match Italian Cup suspension on Thursday after being shown a red card during his side's victory in this season's final. The Italian Football Federation said that the ban was due to Allegri's aggressive attitude towards the 4th official, as well as for making disrespectful gestures towards the match official. And in tennis, women's world #1 Iga Swiatek has swept aside Coco Gauff to reach the Rome Open final and move 1 win away from emulating an 11-year-old Serena Williams landmark. Swiatek hit the line twice in 4 points and emerged with the first set. And meanwhile, Nicola Jarry advanced to his first ATP Masters 1000 semi-final at the Rome Open, where he rallied past Stefanos Tsitsipas 3-6, 7-5, 6-4. Jarry produced relentless power from the baseline, striking 23 4-round winners, including a 166 km/h bruiser to spoil Tsitsipas' quest for a 3rd successive semi-final appearance in Rome. The Chilean will face the American Tommy Paul in the semi-finals. That's it on sports. It's back to you, Ayotunde.
Thank you so much, Chris. And the main news again. The House of Representatives today called for the suspension of new genetically modified crops into the country, pending investigation into their introduction, just as the lawmakers raised concerns about continued attacks by bandits in Nigeria's northwest.